I'm going to walk you through a sample design in Illustrator. Here I'm going to design the lowercase n. So I've got my document, I have my grid, and one thing type designers do is they often design with lines instead of the pen tool, or even better yet, these shapes tools. So here I have a rounded, let me get the rounded ellipse tool, and I'm going to design with a stroke and no fill. Here I have my grid. I'm going to start at this grid point, hold down the shift key to make a complete circle. There we have that. And I'm going to make a stroke. And you'd be surprised at how heavy the stroke has to be for the lowercase n. So let's do 34 points. And as I go along, I'm making decisions. And you'll be making decisions. So let's go 34 points, just to remind ourselves up here. And I just need the top section. And I need this to be an object and not a stroke. So that's going to take a couple steps. Let's look at our layers panel. All right, I have the ellipse selected. And if we go to object and expand, we can turn that into a shape. Just to prove it, let's switch the fill and the stroke so you can see this is now an object. And in the layers panel, it is now a compound path. And we just need the top half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to go straight across my object. Now, just to make sure that I don't angle by accident, I'm going to hold the shift key down. And another thing we can do is if we select the circle and we select the line, we can use our alignment palette to vertically align the centers. Fantastic. And I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool. The bottom row, this one is the divide, and anything that overlaps will get chopped up, so to speak. Let's click that. Now, if you look at the layers panel, it says group. We can open up the group, and you can see there's the top section, there's a bottom section, but there's also, remnants of the original line that we had the stroke on. We don't want those, so I'm going to delete those by pulling them into the trash can on the layers panel. And I actually only want this top one. I'm going to pull that out of the group. Maybe I'll just pull this one out of the group too, and turn off the bottom and just leave it there. Now, if this is something that we think we're going to need again, we can select it and use the Option key or the Alt key to Alt drag, and we can put a spare up there in our workspace because we might need that. All right, so here we have the top curve of our letter N. And as the N goes towards the vertical stem, it gets thinner. Let's move this back and forth so it's in a grid section. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the white arrow, which is the direct selection tool, and I'm going to deselect everything, click off of it, and I just want to click on this one point, this one anchor. You can see everything else is not selected, only that's selected. And I'm using the left arrow on the keyboard. And I can even hold it down. Now, once you're making decisions, but once you know, or once you feel like the width is correct, what I like to do is I like to make some guides or some markers. So what I'm going to do is get the rectangle marquee, and let's get an interesting color. And I'm going to make a little shape. Let us actually make that red. Thank you. Zoom in so it's accurate. And so this is going to be the width marker for the thin stems in my font. And then we might make a width marker for the thick. Those will come in handy later. Okay, fantastic. Let's select this, and I want that to be black. Okay, we have it. Now let's go ahead, and I'm going to make the left stem. Well, and then after that, I'll make the right stem for the letter N. So I'm going to get the rectangular marquee tool, get a black stroke with no fill, and here I'll make it easy a little bit. I'm going to use the width on the right side as a measurement. Okay, so that's how wide that is. Let's get the black arrow. Now we decide how tall we want to make that. This is where you would want to compare your font to all of the other inspirational fonts that you gathered. So you can decide how far above the N, right? You don't want to go too far because that looks like a letter H. Let's stay in line right there. And then you decide how tall you want that to be. Of course, this is where you would want your X height. And then we overlap that a little bit. Again, you might want to go ahead and change the color. Just so we can see that. We can even drag the stem down. There we go, so we can see how much they're overlapping. All right. And I can take this stem and hold down the Alt key and drag and pull it straight, to the right. If we want it to go completely straight, we also hold down the Shift key and so drag that over. Okay, make sure that overlaps nicely. We can take this one and just lower it. We want to leave we have to leave at least a point of overlap. Zoom in to make sure there's no little jags. If there is, maybe over here. Okay, and if we can't nudge that with the keyboard arrow, I'll show you how to fix that in just a second. The first thing to do is let's take it down, go downward. Okay, there's still a little overlap there. Let's solve that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to select the top and the right stem and use the Pathfinder to join those together. Okay. We didn't select the left stem, so it's not connected yet. Now let's zoom in and see if that gap. Okay, so we zoomed in. Let's keep zooming in, and we can see we have 2 points here, and we really only want one. So I'm going to get the minus pen tool, and let's see what happens when we delete the left one. Zoom out, and we want to make sure this curve is still clean and smooth. There we go. Now, even though we have been doing some measuring, at some point you might want this stem to be a little bit thicker, depending on what you're trying to say with your font, because it's a little bit taller and it stands up above the letter. Some fonts have that a little bit thicker, so we could grab that side and widen it a bit. And I want to go ahead and give this a little bit more of a design, even though at the moment it is still a sans serif font. Let's give this a little bit of a curve, the left stem. a little bit of a curve to make it a little bit more elegant. And to do that, I need the plus anchor, right? The pen tool with the plus on it. And I'm going to go into the middle and be right on the line and click right there. And so that'll add a point. You can double check and make sure that you have a point connected and move it around, and let us undo that. I just moved it to see that it was connected properly. Undo that. And I'm going to use this curve tool, right? That's a convert anchor point tool. And I'm going to press and hold it down on that anchor point and draw. Now I want to make sure I've gone in the right direction. So I'm going to make a little sample change, right? If I go up, that's the wrong direction. I'm going to go down. And I can hold down the shift key if I don't want to accidentally angle it. So let's make it fairly long. There we have it. Now we haven't made a curve yet. We've turned it into a curve point. I can use the white arrow and make sure that that's selected. And we can move that in and out. I'm just showing you right now. So let's undo that. What I'm going to do is select just that point. I'm going to use the arrows on the keyboard and I'm going to count. Okay, I've gone 6 points to the inside. And again, we might want to, make a note of what we've done. All right, so look how much, cleaner and more elegant that is. We might want to do the same thing to the other side. So, right, more quickly, select the shape, get the plus pen tool, click on the line, get the convert anchor point, press and hold it down, make sure we're going in the proper direction, hold the shift key down to do that, get the white arrow, make sure only that one point is selected, and we're going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lovely. Once we have this and it looks nice, we can select both parts of our letter and click Unite in the Pathfinder. Okay, there we have that. Now some other things that we can do, even if we are staying with the sans serif. Now if you want, let's say maybe you think the set, right? The set is the width of the letter. If the set is a little bit too wide, let me go ahead and show you how to shift that. We can use the white arrow, and of course any 2 points that you select with the white arrow, you select those points, but we can select all of these 6 points on the right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's use the left arrow. And I can just hold that down. So we can bring that in. Now, you will notice that the more you bring that in, the more these curves shift. So let's go ahead and clean these up a little bit more. I can select just these 2 points on the, the top of their eyes. And I can bring those back just a little bit, right? The width of the whole letter is staying the same. Of course, we can also grab some of these Bezier handles if you want. Sometimes letters get very thin as they enter the stem. But right now, we're really interested in making sure that curve is as clean and smooth as possible. Fantastic. Of course, now you need to decide some other kinds of things. If you want this side to have a little bit of curve like this, probably what I would do is select just that one point. It's going to be a little bit harder. But we can give that just a barely noticeable curve. All right. Now, if you want to work on some serifs, I'm going to do that in a second video.